What do you believe right now that's making you feel this way? And when you analyse it, you realise how irrational you can be at times.
Every single one of our major customers and minor customers all shut their doors overnight.
It's not sales per se, but the outcome of it is, because people get to know you, they get to see you.
Making those efficiencies to maximise service profits as well as just product profits.
When you lose the enthusiasm, that's the point to move on.
Scaling up a business isn't easy. If it were, we wouldn't have less than 4% of businesses scaling beyond 10 employees or around £1 million turnover level, and less than 1% beyond 50 employees. But the contribution that we make as owner-managers to our economies is immense and should never be underestimated, yet it can be a tough gig for all of us at times. And only other business owners truly understand the challenges that we face. And through ScaleUp Radio, we aim to help make things a little easier. We interview guests who have been where you are now and may have faced some of the challenges that you are facing. And they offer their thoughts and advice on what has worked for them, as well as what didn't. And we've also combined many of the lessons from these interviews, and also through working with hundreds of owner managers over the last 10 years or so, into a practical scale-up handbook that we've called the Entrepreneurial Scale-Up System, or ESUS. And it's for owner managers like you and me as we navigate our own scale-up journey. And you can order a copy through your favourite online book retailer, or by going to all the W's, esusgroup.co.uk, www.esusgroup.co.uk. This time on ScaleUp Radio, I had the pleasure of interviewing co-founders Matt and Sam, and they co-founded Made by Studios, a digital marketing agency, and couple of really great guys, and really good to see the dynamic and how that dynamic has had to change over the time. They've been running the business for about 4 years. They met at university on the same course, did a project together, and they've gone into business together. And there's quite a few things that they've learned along the way, and things that they do differently. And I'd love you to listen to the conversation we had fairly early on around niching, and they have recently decided to niche into a couple of particular sectors, and the reasons why they've done that are quite interesting. But also they had a really big project early on that turned out to be really rather difficult, and it put a big strain on their relationship, which led them to a couple of things. One was putting in place a proper shareholder agreement. Another was really thinking about each other's mental health, and then of course the rest of their team. So they put a couple of neat little things in place, nice simple ideas that really help keep on top of each other's mental health, and they've found that that's really made a difference then to the energy that they have, the creativity that they have, and generally that culture, that work-life balance within the business. So some really good things within this interview, and I thoroughly recommend that you take a listen. Welcome to another episode of ScaleUp Radio. I'm here today with Sam and Matt, the co-founders of Made by Studios. So welcome to both of you.
It's good to be here, Kevin.
Great to have you on board. So don't know who's going to kick this one off, but tell us about Made by. What's it all about? What do you guys do?
Made by Studio, it's a digital design agency based in the city centre in Leeds. We're a team of 4 people, and we like working on creative briefs, mainly in green technology and medical technology. We're a very people-centric business, so any clients that we work with, we like to have around that value. We've been going for just over 4 years now, I think it is.
Great. And what separates you? Because you're in a relatively crowded market, I think it would be fair to say.
Yes. It's a very, very busy market. There's a load of people that do what we do. That's no secret. But I think it's our attention to detail, the way that we're there for clients a lot of the time. As a small agency, sometimes people would look at bigger agencies thinking they're putting out a lot more work. However, we like to celebrate the fact we're small. We're very hands-on. If a client picks up the phone, we're the ones that are answering it and then cracking on with the work straight away. So being able to be an optimized small agency, I think, goes in our favour. And I think if you ask some of our clients, that's probably what they'd say they remember most about us.
Brilliant. And Matt, I think you were shortlisted at the Great British Entrepreneur Awards. So take us through that. What led to that?
When was that? Can't
Oh,
remember.
right.
21.
2021. Oh yeah. So
It meant a lot to you, yeah.
yeah, I completely forgot about that. Can't really remember what led to that.
I can. It was a joint award. So it was after our first year of business, we did really well growing the business from the first year, and from there we ended up meeting quite a few people, networking people, and we were at the time, we've changed a little bit since, but we were doing a lot around data tracking for design, and there wasn't many people that were trying to. At the point, we were trying to put a monetary value on what design can give you, which is quite hard because it's quite a subjective subject. So
Yeah.
by working out different KPIs we could track within designs, I know it sounds a bit dodgy now, but by working out those KPIs, we could then give perceived value to clients. So by doing that, we grew the business quite well in the first 2 years. We've had a little bit of a pivot now on where we've gone, but doing that, I think, is what got us in with that award.
Oh, excellent. Okay, so we'll come on to some of the milestones, and sounds like there's a bit of a change of direction. Then we'll pick that up in a moment.
Yes.
But okay, excellent. And so 4 years on, can you give us an idea, whatever proxy you'd like to use, for the size or the stage that the business is at now?
Yeah, so it's quite an interesting one. When we first started, it was just myself and Matt, and we started it in an incubator space. And now we've grown it to a small team, which is very nice. So it's a very collaborative environment. Although we do remote working, we're often all in the office together. So yeah, we like that kind of feel. In terms of future goals, we've already discussed we don't want to go into this massive agency world.
Yeah,
we really like the small culture. Someone once described us as having a band mentality, as if we're a music band and we all chip in, we share our ideas, and we sit around the garage just like in free flow. So we want to make sure that stays in place, I think.
Great.
That's working quite nicely now as a business with 4 people in.
So you got four people in the team,
Yes.
Yeah, excellent. So you got to a nice staging post really in the growth of business. You got enough people that you can get that real creative ideas and working together, bouncing ideas off of. But you're not too reliant on one or two people, and it's not too big that the communication breaks down. Yep.
Yeah, that's it. We were up at 5. We've just dropped back down to 4, but I think we'll be scaling up a little bit again soon, which is nice. There is plans to do that. So.
Very good. So how does the money side of the business work? Is it simply charging for projects? Do you have other ways that you look at the business model?
So most of it's project based. We also do retained work. So one thing we always say is, well, when we have new clients come on board, we'll build a new website or web application, and that's just the start of the journey. Really, we'll do a full project timeline of that, which normally takes about 3 to 4 months. But the end of that project is actually the start of our journey with our clients. So we'll then have at least every quarter a meeting with every single one of our clients. We'll do digital strategy sessions. We'll then look at conversion rate optimization. So there's a lot more retained work that's ongoing, and a lot of other studios will just build a product, deliver it, and that's them out. Whereas we only really come on board with clients that we really believe in, and we want to help their businesses grow at the same time. So we're not in it for these kind of one-stop shop quick jobs. We want to make sure we're there and can help the business grow long term. So in terms of revenue, I think it's probably about 40% retained.
Yeah, 30-40% retained, which tends to be kind of like keeping things ticking over, as well as like the consultancy part of like being proactive with clients is a big thing as well. So not waiting for a client to just come and say, "I need this." We do the kind of research for them and say, "This will be really good for you because we've done the research for you," and getting them to kind of go ahead with it as well.
Great. And who's your typical client? Who's your ideal sort of client? You mentioned ones that are looking to go on a journey, but how would you categorize? How would you define an ideal client?
It's funny that is, because speaking about pivot points earlier, it's changed quite a little. Well, not a little bit, a lot over the last few years, and we've had a bit of a restructure on who we want to work with in the last 3 to 4 months, and it took a lot of us understanding who we are as a business to work that out properly. So we went on a bit of a journey working out what we're actually in this for now. in a little summary, we've decided we are a people-centric organisation that care about each other, people on the planet, and our clients, and we care a lot about innovation. And this has now led us to green technology or sustainable technology and med tech. So we already worked a little bit in those sectors. We've already got clients in those sectors, so we do have a good understanding of that. But now we're really pushing towards those clients, and it tends to be clients that are 5 million plus revenue with some internal marketing team, but not a massive marketing team. It's normally like a few people, and we kind of bolt on as a help to that marketing team.
Okay, so the medium-sized companies, the tech, ideally in the green sort of green space, yeah. Probably a medium-sized business, 5 million or so, they're probably going to have somewhere in the order of 30 to 60 employees, probably in that sort of band, yeah. And you're supporting the beginnings of their in-house marketing team.
Yeah, so that's the kind of base client, but we do work above that. If our client list's a bit all over the place at the minute because we've never really had that solid direction.
Right.
We've tended to work with anyone that wanted to work with us, which is fine, but it's very difficult to market as a company that way. And over the years, that's led. We've worked with the biggest construction company in the world on a joint venture project down in Gibraltar. We've worked with JD, Lacoste, a company called Pentland Brands that owns them all, and we've worked with them on their marketing videos and done some video work for the JD conference. And it's led us to do all these cool jobs in really good fields with market leaders. But it comes back to, what do we actually want to do as a studio? And I think that now fortunate enough to be in that position where we can say, right, we've done all this, we've tried it out. What do we really like doing, and how can we do more of it? And that's what's now given us a bit more of a strategic goal in terms of who we want to work with.
Brilliant. And was there a catalyst for that change? What made you stop and think and reevaluate?
We always wanted to niche down. We always said we want to find a little sector of the world and go with it. If I'm honest, it's better for business results. I think it's business 101. Find a niche and go for it.
Yeah.
And we worked in construction for a while, and it's been good in construction, but bringing on new clients is often a lot of red tape. People don't really believe in the newer technologies that we're trying to put forward to them as much. I know this is very generalized, so take it with a pinch of salt. And then we worked in other sectors and nothing really excited us as much. Like, as a studio and the team here, we care a lot about sustainability. As I mentioned, people. We're a very people-focused organisation, so it's, how is that reflected?
Yeah, I think it all came down to like the past year, because around this time a year ago was like a big changing point where we realised, okay, we can't scale with our internal system. So we started just optimizing everything, getting everything ready for this kind of point, like, okay, we can scale up to like 15 people. And we're now at that point. So it kind of put us this decision point where we're like, okay, we worked with all these different areas and sectors, which is the ones which kind of excite us. And that's where these kind of medical technology and sustainable technology brands kind of stood out, because they're like some of the best projects we've done because we were really excited about them. So what we've delivered is amazing. And then we're going back to them saying, we want to work with you and the companies they work with, because this is like the exact kind of relationship we want with our clients. So we're kind of going that route because the client relationships are really good with those kind of companies. And it's just good work, because if you're going to do something every day, you might as well do it for something good. So that's where sustainability and medtech comes in.
Excellent. And I love the fact that you've done that. As you say, it's great business advice to find a niche that works for you and that you feel good about serving. But also, I love the way you've described that process, because it doesn't have to be a complicated process, does it? But essentially, as you say, you've been in business for long enough to have worked out, realize the kind of clients that you do like to work with and that fit well. And okay, let's maybe what if we just focused on those. So yeah, simple, but very powerful way of segmenting and finding our niche.
I think so. And it's one thing. It's taken us a long time, but I don't regret that at all. Yeah. A lot of people kind of rush into it. And I had a lot of conversations with other agency owners. So I think I spoke to probably about 15 to 20 agency owners that just work in medical, about what their experience is, how they got into it. And some people are like, well, you just pick it and you go for it. And somebody else said, it's an 18-month process. Don't even advertise that you're just medical for 18 months. And then once you get to your little medical niche, you can go even further 18 months later. So we looked at maybe just going to medical device manufacturing.
Yeah.
Which is kind of what we've done with medtech. But every 18 months you can go to smaller and smaller and smaller, which is quite an interesting idea. But for us, we just didn't have a clue.
Yeah.
It was funny because we started then, like the first year of business was COVID, and that was just how do we keep the doors open? And then after that, it was like, right, we've done that. And since then, we've been assessing more and more about where we actually want to go. And if I'm honest, we say it's been the last few months. It was probably only last week when we wrote it. I'm just looking at a whiteboard in our office at the minute. We wrote down like medical technology, sustainable technology, and we've started gearing up the website for that in the last week. So it's very, very fresh at the minute.
Right.
But we had a conversation yesterday and we were both really excited about it. So,
great. What would you say to people listening that, because not everybody automatically thinks they should niche down, because the temptation, you mentioned lockdown, the temptation a lot of people did was you start to look for, you go, oh crikey, it's got a bit difficult what we're doing. Let's look for other ways to make some money. So we end up doing all sorts of things and do the opposite of niching down. And some people would go, well, what does that mean then if we get, one of these clients, somebody comes along with a nice project that's not one of the in the niche, what do we do there? So what attracts you to the idea of niching, and what would you say to some of the people that maybe are thinking not convinced?
In my opinion, it makes it easier, because if you're too broad, and let's say you're trying to do your marketing collateral, you're trying to get your kind of content out to LinkedIn and all that kind of stuff, if you don't have the context for your conversation, it's really hard to kind of get the information across that you want to. So now we know that, okay, we're going to do medical technology and sustainable technology. All the content we're going to produce on all the channels is going to be based on that. And the new website we're building as well. Like last year, we tried to rebuild it, and I was like, I have no idea which direction to go, because we didn't have this kind of sector. But now we know exactly where we're going. Like, okay, this is actually really easy, because again, we've got that direction. And then let's say a client from a different sector. So let's say it's from like a retail kind of area. If they really like our work and they have that same value fit, we're not going to say no. We're still going to have the conversation, because there still could be the kind of type of people we want to work with. Obviously, we're not targeting them directly, but they might see that we're doing really good work and still want to have that conversation. So it doesn't fully exclude other sectors anyway. It just makes it easier for your messaging that you're producing to be directed to who you want to work with.
Yeah. Anything you'd add to that, Sam?
Yeah, jumping off the back of that, so I get out and meet clients a lot, do a lot of networking and sales as well. That falls into my role. And in medical, we've gained quite a few clients now, and they work with each other a lot. So a recent prospect that I went to, I was chatting about one of our other clients' work, and they know them, and we designed their website, and they're like, oh, right. And straight away, it gives you that extra little bit of authority over other people that might be pitching, because if you're in with the people they know that are their trusted suppliers and we supply them, it just gives you that little edge, I think, when it comes to competitive advantage. And from that point, also building knowledge in the subject area. If you can become a subject area expert, then you know more than any other design studio in that area.
Yeah.
You are much more likely to be able to talk their language and get that sale over the line.
Yeah. Great. Thank you for that. So I think you've covered some of the really key points there, and especially in a crowded market when it's hard to differentiate. One of the ways to do that is to niche into an area of specialism. And you mentioned a word which is really key to my heart, which is that competitive advantage. So we've got to have something that gives us that little edge. So exactly as you say, if people perceive you as being experts in that field, and you're then pitching against other agencies, you've got that little bit of an edge that might either just get you over the line, or it might even allow you to start to charge more premium prices for the services.
Yeah, it's quite a funny one. So I think the first time we really realised that was, or myself, maybe I'm speaking on behalf of both of us, out of course there, but so my dad worked for a ground engineering company, and I've grown up knowing about foundations for buildings way more than any normal person should. I can tell you all the different types of piles that go in the ground to support them. And we worked with their company. It was like our first client was them, wasn't it? And it's like, who you know kind of thing. So he helped give us some work. But then I think we then got in talk. We've worked with one other foundation engineering company, so 2 others, sorry. We've had 3 that have spoke to us about things. And all of them are just like, well, you understand what we do and what we're trying to get across.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where it's like, you can't take pictures of it. It's all underground. So how do you get people to understand it? And because I had a bit of a base knowledge on it, could talk that language and show them that we understood it. So that was the first time I was like, if you know your stuff, then it's much easier to get that sale over the line, to get in that conversation in the first place as well.
Yeah, very good. So how did you guys get started? How did you meet, and what got you to the point when you started Made By?
So we went to university together. We both studied graphic and communication design at the University of Leeds, but we didn't actually speak to each other for 3.5 years of that 4-year course.
Right.
So we met in our final year. We got put on a project in a branding module, a group project, and the project was brand fish. That was it. That was the whole kind of brief for the project.
As in fish, as in
fish
that swim.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it was very, very vague.
Not any particular type of fish, just fish in general. Yeah, right. Okay.
It was like a 2-word brief. It was just brand fish.
Yeah.
So the reason for that is you can go away and do whatever you want with that concept. And there was us 2 and a chap called Alex Batty, who is a very, very good designer and illustrator and is doing great things in his career as well. But the 3 of us came up with a concept that it was called the Mad Batter, and it's a fish and chip shop. It's a bit like Subway, where you can go there, you pick your fish, you pick what batter you want on it, you pick what sauce.
Oh, I see.
We came up with this full concept anyway. And then we finished the designs, really happy with it, handed it in, but we also uploaded it to our Instagram accounts. Then it got picked up by design blogs, and it got picked up by design blogs that had like 500,000 users.
Wow.
Yeah. So it went pretty big. But the problem is we put that it was based in Headingley and Leeds. Yeah. And on there, we'd done quite a couple of nice vegan options. And then we started getting messages from people saying they've been trying to find this vegan fish and chips alternative.
In Headingley.
Couldn't get there. And then we were the ones like, oh no, it's not actually real. We're very sorry. A few angry replies. But that was our kind of proof of concept. And we thought, you know what, if we've tricked people into thinking we've done a real business here, why don't we just give it a go? And we got chatting. We both wanted to either freelance or set up a studio after uni. And then we decided, may as well join forces and do it together. We've got quite complementing skill sets. Mm-hmm. Anyway, Matt's a self-taught developer. I'm always interested in marketing, sales and brand. So it all fit quite nicely. And here we are.
So just clarify again. So you do the sales and marketing. Yeah.
So it's changed a little bit since we started, but we've more external operations now: sales, marketing, client side, account management.
Yeah, and I do like the internal stuff. So essentially, kind of managing the processes, optimizing like workflows, as well as kind of taking care of all the infrastructure for the websites and frameworks and stuff we use, because that's just what I love doing.
Mm-hmm.
Very good. But you didn't decide to go into setting up a fish and chip shop then?
No, actually not.
We always say we should sell that business. Yeah. Like, it's such a good, everyone that sees it is like, this is an amazing concept and it looks really good. We want to try and sell it.
Yeah.
That's the next revenue stream.
Brilliant. Good. Okay. So good. So you come together and what did you do? Did you set the business up 50-50? What's the... Yeah.
So we set up 50-50. We did it in our final year of uni, actually. We still hadn't graduated at the time. It was an awful few months because we were both writing dissertations. We wrote a 60-page business plan to submit to a business plan competition that the university did.
Yeah.
Then we submitted it just before the deadline. And and they said, "Oh no, you don't actually have to write the whole thing. You just have to fill in this form. It's 2 sides of A4."
It is like they gave us 6 hours to cut it down from 60,000 words or like 40 pages, whatever it was, to 4 pages. I was like, right, I can give that a go. We did it. I ended up coming third. I was like, yeah, fair enough.
Very good. But you'd got the full plan ready to go.
It's been so useful ever since that has, to be fair. We've done some grant funding, things like that, and it's been so good, and even just for direction for us. But yeah, then we started the business final year of uni, and the University of Leeds has an incubator space for new businesses. Right. So we were based in there for a year or so until COVID hit, and then we got turfed out.
Yeah. So how formal were you with the setup? Have you got full shareholder agreements, or was it a shake of the hand, or what did you do?
It was a shake of the hand until we had one project that was very stressful, and then we were like, right, we're getting shareholders agreements. It's something that we've been meaning to do for ages, and I think that just was like, right, we actually need to get something in writing.
Yeah.
Great. Good. So take us through the journey bit, some of the key milestones. So you sounds like your first client was somebody in the foundations world that you knew. Take us from there. What are some of the key stepping stones?
Yeah, so I think we were both freelancing a bit when we were at university, just picking up jobs here and there. So I was doing little bits for the company my dad worked for, which is the foundations business. So we then brought them in as a first client. And in the incubator space at university, there was loads of startup businesses. So luckily it was a good space to be in for us because we could help them out, do a bit of branding, build a quick website for them. Very low ticket stuff. We weren't charging them much for it at all, but we were building the portfolio. I think our first website we did was like 600 quid. Yeah. Which is just not now. Yeah. From there, I think we just, we did change quite a lot because what we used to say we were a full service agency, which is very kind of naive, I think is the word I'd use now. We went into it saying we'll compete with all these big agencies. We'll say we do everything. And we were doing like full print designs, print management and things like that. And then when COVID hit, nobody wanted to print anything anymore. And both of us were like, oh, thank God, it's so annoying having to do all the print stuff. And then we were like, well, why don't we just not do it? So that was a big pivot, and we went into digital from there. And I think client-wise, it's just growing quite naturally through a lot of networking, chatting to people. But like I say, it's better now because we've got a bit of a vision of who we want to chat to.
Yeah.
It's just a case of getting our faces out there a lot.
Yeah, in the early stages, a lot of it was in-person networking. So some of the kind of applications and websites we're working on now, 4 years on, are from people that we met in our first year of business, and we're scaling with them. So we've got a meeting coming up with one where it's kind of, we're building V3 of his this kind of leadership testing platform, and it's kind of helping him like scale to the next level as well. So it's kind of nice to just go through those journeys together.
Yeah. So what sort of networking has worked for you? What?
It's very hit and miss. It's one of those where been out to so many networking events, the odd one here and there has been good. I think that's another reason we want to make sure we're niching down now, is because we can actually go to those targeted events. It's all very fun. Like, I'm quite a chatty person. I love meeting people and just hearing their stories anyway. Like, I don't really go to networking to try and sell at any point. Obviously, if something happens further down the line, that's a bonus, but it was just to gather learnings from other people, really. 'Cause like I said, we were quite naive when we first started. We did it straight out of university. We did placement years, but other than that, we'd not had proper jobs in quote marks. So it was trying to chat to as many people as possible and learning how they've started a business and what they've done. One thing that has been very good for us is talking to other agency owners. And so that's come through various different things, agency meetups. There was an agency that I really liked when I was a student, and one of their directors was talking at a job fair in Leeds. I had no ambition of getting a job because we'd already started the studio, but I went to the talk and went to hear it, and then just got chatting to him afterwards. And they're now I'd say close friends. They're like mentors to us. So they have, I think it's about 50-ish person agency now. But the amount of advice and help they've given us, and also passed us a few jobs down, been incredible for us over the past few years.
That's great. I like that as well. That's something that, you know, some of us might be thinking, oh no, we can't talk to the competition. You know, they might learn something from us or whatever. You know, but no, I like that. And there's a lot to be said for industry specific peer groups as well as general peer groups. But finding out from your peers.
The whole creative design scene in Leeds is incredible. Like, it's such a nice place to be. I speak to other agency owners from Manchester. I was chatting to one from London the other day, and the culture that's in Leeds for agencies is so good. Like, it's not just them now. We've got really good relations with other agencies that are that size, and kind of passing work up and down as well. If the project's too big for us and we just can't handle it, we'll pass it up to one of those guys that it's most suitable for. But there was, before Channel 4 moved to Leeds, it was set up by a group of agency called All In Leeds. And they set up this, it was like a directory almost of agencies, but the whole point was to sign a manifesto to Channel 4. And it was basically a love letter saying how good the creative scene is here and how Channel 4 should come and get involved. And it was design agencies, development, video agencies, motion graphic, a lot. And they all signed this letter off and sent, and apparently it had quite a big impact on the decision because of the culture that they showed in Leeds and how collaborative and supportive it was. And that network still exists today, and I think they're doing some drinks in the summer, trying to meet everyone up again. But that just goes to show it's not this dog-eat-dog horrible business world that a lot of people think. It's actually such a supportive network of everyone, because everyone knows if you bring each other up, everyone benefits. We're seeing it a lot at the minute. A lot of London agencies have hiked their prices, but Leeds is now getting this good name for digital. So a lot of companies from down south are coming to Leeds for the work. So yeah,
very good. So talk us through the people side. So you know initially just the two of you, by the sounds of it. Mm-hmm. So when did you take on your first hire, and how did you go about thinking about making sure you got that right?
I think our first hire was an intern from University of Leeds. So it was in COVID actually, because we took on this project. It's like quite a big animation project. So we went back to our course and said, we're looking for an intern. Can you kind of put this job listing throughout the course? Because we knew the people that would be going through the graphic and communication design degree would be of like high caliber, and we wanted to kind of give back in a way. So we managed to bring them on, and they stayed with us for a year. I think it was
year internship.
Yeah, and they just like worked on this animation project for kind of 3-4 months, what it is, and then when we were allowed kind of back in the office, then we all kind of worked from the office again, which was quite nice. And then got really good at that UI and animation. It was a bit strange kind of taking on our first employee while Sam was back at his parents' house, I was back at my parents' house. And like I had to go and drop off a laptop to our employee's parents' house. I was like, this is really strange. Not really what I expected, but it is what it is at the time.
Mm. So you're all still living at home at that point.
Well, we both lived in Leeds, but I lived in a flat in Leeds, and I was just like, if we're going to be locked down for months, I don't just want to be stuck in the flat. So I went straight back down to my parents' house. They just got a puppy, so it was like puppy in a garden. I'm sold.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, and I was in a 5-bed house in Burley, but then all my housemates left me, and I was like, this is a little weird. So I got back home as well. It's a bit a house that big. It's not great. You know?
Very good. So what have you learned? Because you know you've come out of university, working together, and now you've got to the point where you've got a couple of other employees with you. So what have you learned about managing people and having other people working for you? What's surprised you? Let's look at it that way.
See, I think we've always had quite a lot of trust, and we've always been very trusting people. It's always worked. Unfortunately, we had some difficulty with an employee the other day, and that's not gone well. But it's trying to. I think that's it. It's the first time that there's kind of a trust been broken now. I think as employees, we're very like we do flexi time, so that start any time between 8 and 10, finish anywhere between 4 and 6, just to take the pressure off a little bit. If you have a bad night's sleep the night before, you can have a bit of a lie in, things like that. We do a 4-day week as well. And the whole point of that is having 100% of the productivity in 80% of the time, which is achievable. And we've been doing it for over a year now. So I think we show a lot of respect to our team, and we give them the benefit of the doubt in all situations. So it's then making sure that we don't lose that trust in some way.
Yeah, it's like if we provide the respect, we get like the same respect back. It's like a respect of time and stuff like that. And we kind of like just have the expectation that everyone will just crack on and not break that trust. But it's like if someone breaks that trust, it is impossible to kind of bring it back in some cases. It's like a relationship, isn't it? If you break trust of a partner, it's very difficult to get that back. So we're kind of always trying to maintain that throughout.
I think we've learned quite a lot in terms of communication as well, though. So we do quarterly sessions with each team member, and it's much more about the business. It's not like an appraisal as such. It's much more saying, how do you think we can improve the company structure? How do you like to be given feedback? What kind of communication styles do you prefer? Do you prefer like written feedback? Would you like us to record a video and send it over? Do you want us to sit down with you and go through things? So really deep diving into individual needs. And I think that's been a good way to help support not only the team, but the business as a whole.
Yeah. Another thing to add to that as well is it's the collaboration as well, because obviously we've changed this direction to medical technology and sustainable technology recently, but it's not really just mine and Sam's decision. We kind of ask everyone saying, what's your thoughts in this direction? Is this something you'd be happy with? So it's not just me and Sam going, okay, you're going to do this and this and this and this. It's actually everyone going, actually, we all think this is a good idea. So we're all having this input, no matter who you are, into the company in its direction. So yeah, it's just that collaborative nature, which is really good as well.
Very good. So you're involving the team on a regular basis. That sounded like that was sort of individual, Sam, or are you getting together as well and doing these planning sessions? Matt, is that how it works?
Yeah, I think it's kind of because we're all just in the office and like we can just shout across the room, really.
Right.
So we're always just like saying stuff, and then if someone else is having a chat, like, oh, actually, I've just had this idea, and like that's how the collaborative, like the creative collaboration comes on, because like you hear something, you're like, oh, actually, that sparks another thought, so we go in this direction, stick it on the whiteboard, and then like 2 weeks later, we're like, actually, we've got another idea, and it kind of like spirals from that.
That's happened in the last couple of weeks. So Matt was chatting to Aaron, our developer, and they were just talking about the way the new website was going to work in terms of the people that we want to work with. And then that started drilling down into, well, how are we actually going to name the people we want to work with? Like, what are these sectors? And then I was just being nosy and was listening in. And then I had some ideas. So I walked around to their side, and then we ended up just filling a whiteboard for 10, 15 minutes with ideas. And although it wasn't planned time, it's still probably what gave us the most kind of traction in finding this new route that we're going down. So that's one thing that I know this is slightly digressing a little bit, but remote working and how that changes the dynamic. So I think we say we can remote work up to 50% of the time, but in the studio 50% of the time as well. So when we're remote working, it's very good because we can really concentrate, and sometimes you don't get that kind of flair or getting involved in a conversation. You get loads done, but sometimes you miss those little sparks, which is a shame. So I suppose, how can we instill that into ourselves and the team as a whole if we start remote working a little bit more?
Yeah, good. So what do you love about what you do? You know, I get the impression you're really passionate about what you do. What is it that you love most about what you do?
I love the creative side. I love showing people new ideas and blowing their minds. I like it when clients just like, we've exceeded expectations. And when we do that, I know it's because we've enjoyed doing it in the studio and we've been coming up with good ideas here. And it's when we all enjoy ourselves working that we can do that best. And the other side is, I just love the culture's such a buzzword, but I've said it a few times already. But I love like what we're doing here. It's never a chore to come to work. Like, we come in, we enjoy ourselves, great cool things. Like I say, we have Fridays off, which is always lovely. So being in a job that can do that monthly social. We all went climbing last month, went eating hot wings the month before. Like, it's just fun. Like, it's nice to have that fun side of life still at work.
What about you, Matt?
Yeah, all the same things, but just to add as well, it's like, because starting design studios, and I always wanted to do it since I was 16 years old. I was like, I'm going to start a design studio. That's all I'm going to do. And now I'm here doing a design studio. And I'm like, okay, I've achieved that goal. What do I want to do now?
Yeah.
And what I get a kick out of is like finding people with like a massive amount of potential and giving them the projects and the tasks, go and just say, like, go and build this. Like, this will really benefit you and help your personal progression to make you like a really good designer or a really good developer or project manager. And like, when you see someone get really excited that they've done something that they didn't realize they could do, you're like, okay, cool. I've helped someone genuinely kind of progress their skill set. And it works in the same way with client work as well. Like, if you deliver a project, you get that reaction where they're like, this is incredible. This is going to make my life so much easier. It's like, it's that emotional impact and reaction is a big thing for me, because you can visually see on people's faces like how much of a benefit it's had to them, which kind of makes you very happy as a person. You've done something good.
Great. And what, on the flip side, what frustrates you the most?
Oh, that's a good question. Oh, I'd love to just wave a wand around and our pipeline was full for the next year. Business development, although it's quite a fun strategic game, being able to get more new business, which I feel like is everyone's problem, especially at the minute in the current climate. But yeah, making sure that we can scale almost. And yeah.
What about you, Matt?
Difficult. Like in my head, I've got like time, because there's like so many ideas that we want to do, and just we can do this and we can do this and we can do this, and like they're all really fun and exciting things, but we got to prioritize like one or two, nail that, and then we can move to the next one. Or in my head, I just kind of want to do all these 20 things all at once, and like if I didn't have to sleep, I would just like keep going and going. Obviously, human, so we have to take a break, and it's just like, so when I get home, even I wake up from a dream, I'm like, oh, I've got this to do now. I want to do that and that. Yeah. That part.
Matt has a new business idea every other week. So but he's like, right, I'm going to build this website for this new startup. I'm going to do it now. And then in 2 weeks, I'm like, how's that going? He's like, oh, no, I've thought of a new one now. I'm going to do that.
So I have to keep myself in check. Okay, Made by Studios focus. Do that. Keep going.
Yeah, even better ideas than the battered fish or whatever. Yeah, there you go.
Can't beat a bad fish. So.
That'll always be top.
Brilliant. So sounds like you got a lot right over those 4 years. What if you had to sort of pinpoint the things you got right? What would they be?
I'd say a big point for us was keeping in check with our own mental health and then instilling that into the practice in the studio. There was one biggest job we'd ever had at the time, and we took it on. They wanted it in a quick deadline that we said we couldn't meet, but we said we'd do it as quick as we can. And I think for 12 weeks, we're working 6 or 7 days a week, whatever, 10, 11 hours a day, and just absolutely drove ourselves down to the ground. Both got majorly stressed out. Like, I had to have days off from it. That's when we had our only ever TIFF, I'll say.
Right.
That's when the shareholders agreement came out.
Yeah, okay.
But yeah, after that, it was one of those moments where we could just be like, right, this is ridiculous, we're not doing this anymore. Or like, what have we actually learned from this? And how do we make sure it never happens again? And we said, right, we need to make sure we're not over-promising. We need to make sure that all our projects are properly timelined. We're not going to just sell ourselves short. How can we also keep in check with each other? So, like, to ourselves, we have a meeting every month, and in our directors meeting, it is, how is your mental health? How stressed are you? How do you feel at the minute? Do you feel fulfilled? And it's those more deep, meaningful questions that actually make us stop and think about it. But we also ask those questions to the team. We have one-on-ones with the team and ask those kind of questions. And since we've done that, it's been going so smoothly. Like, that has made such a big difference in really looking after ourselves. There's a nice analogy, actually, because we both did mental health first aid training as well. And it's like being on a plane, you have to fit your own oxygen mask before you can help others out. So without us making sure that we're in check, the studio is likely to not be good either.
Very good. What would you add to that, Matt?
Something I always say is like your lowest moments are your biggest opportunities to learn. I think even though that period and that project, like we delivered it successfully and the client was really happy, for us personally, it was a very difficult time, but I wouldn't really change it because the amount of positives that have come out the back of that based on the reflection of going, okay, what went wrong? And we're like, okay, this has gone wrong, this. And now we spent the past year putting all these different processes in place just to prevent this ever happening again. And it's like it's kind of restarted that startup mentality as well, because we're going, oh, we've got all this energy. We know we can scale now. We know we can go and do this, because we've got all the things in place to prevent it. And like, if we see things starting to wobble, like we can spot it before it even happens, because again, we've got that process that says, okay, like if we have this rating scale where people can rate their stress and mental health and stuff, and like if we see it going into a bit of orange or red, like, okay, what's changed to start this happening and how can we alleviate that? So it basically helps us have the conversations at the right time as well, which we weren't even having the conversations like 3 years ago. So that's a good impact.
So you're asking people to do that self-rating scale once a quarter or something before you have those catch-ups?
So that's every month.
Every month,
we send it's kind of a quick questionnaire poll out, and we all fill that in every month. And then we have like in-person one-on-ones in a nice relaxed place. We'll pop to a cafe and have some breakfast or a coffee and do that. But what the monthly one allows us to do is, if something is flagged as red or orange, then we can have that conversation straight away, and we won't bother waiting till the next quarterly if something's on someone's mind.
Yeah, very good. Like it a lot. Okay, so what's the legacy that you guys want to leave? What's the mark you want to leave behind you?
We've gone back and forth on this, but I think neither of us are in it to make millions and millions and millions of pounds. Like, we both want, sure, an exit or something at some point would be nice, but it's not really the end goal at the minute. We'd rather just create a nice collaborative space that everyone can come to work and enjoy themselves. Life's not for working yourself to the bone every day, in my opinion. It's about living life while you're here and enjoying it where you can. So how can we create an environment that allows the whole team to do that? Because coming into the office every day and seeing smiles on people's faces, like, it's much better than people coming in and moaning about things and not enjoying, like, working 12-hour days or whatever. So yeah, I think almost like what you were saying, being able to create an environment where people can come into work, enjoy themselves and leave, and hopefully inspiring other businesses to do that. I was doing a webinar the other day for Mindful Employer. Not sure if you've heard of them, the part of Mind. Just talking about some of the stuff we've mentioned today, like the practices we have in place, the surveys, 4-day week, things like that, and how we've tried to create a better working environment for our team. And quite a few people in that were like going to start implementing that in their businesses. And it was large organisations. I think Leeds City Council were in it, and they said that they were going to look at doing that for their teams and test it out, and then maybe open it up wider. So although we can impact people here, how can we also inspire a wider business community to maybe put those best practices in place?
Yeah. And what have you learned about moving to a 4-day week? How have you made that work?
So that also came off the back of that project where it all went wrong. So we sorted out all our processes. Matt spent the best part of 6 months just really refining how we do everything. How can we optimize what we do in the studio? And we realized we were actually saving that much time that we could possibly look at the 4-day week as an option. And we tracked a load of data before and after. We tracked when we had the most meetings, when all the emails came in, when a client called us the most. And there's the option of doing, like, some people work Monday, some people work Friday. But we realised Friday was half as busy across the board on Thursday, which was the next quietest day. So, yeah, we just said to our clients, we're thinking about closing on Friday. That was the scariest bit.
Right.
Won't be able to reach us on Friday. Well, I didn't say that because I always can. They said it's like, we'll still be available on the phone if anything goes wrong, the same as at a weekend, but the team can all have it off. And I think since then, looking at those reports that we do, work-life balance has increased on average. I think it was 7 or 8 before, and now it's 10 from everyone every month. Mental well-being's increased, so everyone's feeling a little bit better about it. I used to nap all the time after work. I was always knackered when I got home. I never nap anymore. And it's only something I realised the other day. I was like, I'm not sure if that's to do with it, but
yeah. Yeah. So you got more energy to do some things you want to do. Yeah.
Yeah, trying to limit those tasks that no one really wants to do. How can we automate as many of those naff processes as possible so that when we're in, we are working on those creative briefs, we're doing things that really energize us and maximizing the 4 days we now have on the important work, really.
Great. Good. So what does the next 5 years have in store? If you're back on ScaleUp Radio in 5 years' time, what would count as success for you?
I'll put that in the calendar. I'll send a reminder for that.
We'll get it in now, yeah.
I think we've always said that in 5 years, the idea is to get to around 15 people so we can still keep that like collaborative atmosphere. Like the clients, when they work with us, they'll know each individual in the company because there's only 15. We don't really want to go past that. And just kind of stay with what we're doing, like still in the niche, doing a 4-day week, flexible working, just helping people progress. And then when we hit that number 15, then we kind of figure out what's next. But I don't think we've ever really thought past that, have we?
No, I think that's the goal. We've said that is our 5-year plan. Which, as again, chatting to other agency owners, they were like, "Yeah, we said that as well," and now we're 60 people.
Right.
But things change. It's like you get one big project and you have to bring in a few more people to help out. But I think in terms of that, just keeping on track with the latest technology, making sure we are really pushing ourselves, keeping innovative. Never ever want to become stagnant.
Yeah.
The moment we become bored of using certain platforms, like what's the next one? How can we really stay at the forefront?
Great. And just going back quickly to your shareholders agreement, was there anything unusual that you decided to put in there as a result of that project, or was it fairly standard, off the shelf sort of shareholders agreement?
I think it was pretty off the shelf because there's only 2 of us. A shareholder agreement is quite difficult because it's a lot easier to do when you've got an odd number of people because of the way stuff splits. Because all shareholders agreements have like a thing like, if you do this, you can't work in the industry for 2 years or something like that. Yeah. I think we dropped that down to like 1 year or 6 months. Because I was like, realistically, this is both our trades. Like, we can't do what we're skilled at. Like, what are we going to do? Like, we don't, if things went wrong, we had to put it in action. We don't want to be kind of screwing each other over. We just want to be supporting one another.
Did you put anything in for what happens if one of you decides, you know what, I'm not sure I want to continue down the same path, and we just want to go separate ways? How would that work?
Yeah, that is all in there. I think that works I think there's a buyout clause over a couple of years if one of us wants to leave. Right. Or just winding up the studio. It's one option.
And did you go as far as putting a formula for that buyout clause as to how that would work?
I think we did.
Yeah.
Feels like ages ago now. I feel like there's things happened since.
I think the buyout clause is basically one person says that they want to suck it in, and then they have to send out an email saying you have 1 year either offer or it goes elsewhere. It's all on our company's house, actually.
It's interesting you said that, because that's actually what I was getting to, which is to in a way, which is, I think it's called a shotgun clause, but one of you can trigger it essentially, but the other one can choose whether it's buy or sell. So because you so one of you triggers it, one comes up with the offer, and then the other one buy or sell, whatever. But you end up, it's quite an interesting way of doing it. But nice. Well, it's been fascinating talking to you both. I've really enjoyed it. Can I ask you, are you all right for a couple of sort of quick fire questions before we close?
Oh, yeah, go for it.
Great. So you could go back to your younger self. What advice would you give yourself?
Chat to more people earlier on.
Right.
Manage my mental health better, like actually keep myself in check a lot more.
From the start.
Yeah.
Good. Any books, podcasts, other resources you'd recommend that made a difference to you that you'd recommend others have a look at?
Anyone in the agency space, there's a good podcast called Off Script by Josh Nesbitt and James Hall. And they're both agency owners, and they're very, very good at dissecting agency problems.
In terms of a book that I call it the Bible of agencies, there's a book called Agencynomics, which is essentially written by this guy that used to run an agency, like 40, 60 people, and he sold it for 8 figures or something like that. And it essentially has like the inner workings of how to run an agency at different sizes. A lot of work I did over the past year, like processes and stuff like that, it's come from that. And also, so I'm just going to look about now, it's called Radical Candor, which is really good for having conversations, which is like you care personally but challenge directly, which is a very powerful kind of way of doing your one-to-ones to make sure that people are being supported in the right way.
Right.
I've got loads of books to recommend now.
Great. We'll put those in the show notes. That's really useful. Thank you. Any apps particular that you find particularly useful that you use?
I'm always on LinkedIn, and it's not. I do love LinkedIn. It's not the nicest place to be sometimes. Sometimes a bit of imposter syndrome on LinkedIn. It's just very good for networking. It's nothing new. I imagine everyone's on LinkedIn.
Yeah, mine's a Google Notepad actually, because I have so many things to do sometimes. I need like a physical checklist, and if I have a Google Notepad, when you like just tick something off, it's a good feeling knowing like, okay, I've achieved something. But it's just a simple thing like that makes life and the work life easier, because you just kind of can see your progression. Whereas if you're kind of just trying to do it all in your head, it's impossible.
One app that keeps the studio together is ClickUp.
Yeah,
which is like we use it for all sorts now. It started as just a bit Trello job management, and now everything goes to there. It's like a CRM for us. It does half our accounting. It does all our job management, sends out all automations, databases, all sorts is in ClickUp. I didn't realize how much you could do with a bit of software like that. And I think if ClickUp ever went down, we'd be in trouble.
Very good. All right, excellent. And finally, what work you've mentioned networking, but what's your most successful way of finding new clients?
Referrals.
Yeah,
it's definitely our best way to find clients. I think we believe in the good work we do for people and ask them if there's anyone they know. And often they like sending people our way, which gives us a little pat on the back and makes us know that we are achieving what they want us to achieve.
Very good. Excellent. Well, Matt and Sam, thank you very much indeed for being my guest today on ScaleUp Radio. If people would like to get hold of you, find out more about Made by Studio, what's the best way for them to do that?
So you can check out the website, which is madeby.studio. That's it. And you can check us out on LinkedIn. We're probably most active on. Matt loves tweeting clever things as well. Matt Multiplied.
Yeah, Matt Multiplied's my handle. Yeah.
And yeah, you can check us out on there.
Brilliant. Great. We'll put those in the show notes. So both of you, thank you very much indeed.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Kevin. Been a pleasure.
I hope you enjoyed that discussion, and if you're building and scaling your own business, you might well be interested in our book, The Entrepreneurial Scale-Up System. And it's exactly what it says on the tin. It's a practical handbook around scaling a business in a structured way. And you can order a copy on all your favorite online retailers, including an audio version, or you can find it and other supporting resources on our website, www.esusgroup.co.uk. That's esusgroup.co.uk, which is esusgroup.co.uk.
This has been a Monkey Pants Productions podcast.